So we're carrying on our series in the meantime. This is our second last of this series. Next week will be the last, and then the next day, Kendall and I may just have a baby. So this will be the second last in this series called In the Meantime. We've been talking about David and David's journey. David was the second king of Israel. Israel in the Old Testament was considered God's people. The people that God was caring for, was walking with, was empowering to be a kingdom of priests to the world, to all the nations. And so David became the second king after Saul. Saul was the first king, and there wasn't any kings before. God was the king of Israel. But Israel started saying, we want to be like everyone else. We want to follow everyone else's plan, so we want a king. So then Saul became king. Saul was a good king at first, turned bad, and then when he stopped obeying God in some ways, all of a sudden the prophet from God said, go and anoint David to be king. So David was anointed to be king of Israel while there was still a king in Israel. And so David said, well, what do I do now? How long will it take? The prophet said, actually I don't know if they had this conversation, but it did take between 10 and 20 years for him to become king. And so we've been talking about what do we do in the meantime? What do we do when we're not there yet, when we know God has a plan for us, and He's had a plan for us, and He's made that clear to us. He's shown us some things about where we're to go and what it's going to look like, and yet we're not there yet. We're stuck in the meantime. We're stuck trying to get there. What do we do in that circumstance? This week we're going to look at David's diary. His diary is in Psalms. In Psalms, a lot of the Psalms were written by David, and a lot of them were written in the meantime. In the times where he wasn't yet king, in the times where things were going a little rough, he wrote a lot of things in that time. And so Psalms is sort of like the diary of David. I want to start with Psalm 27, and then we'll end off on Psalm 40 afterwards. Psalm 27, 10 to 14. Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. Teach me your way, Lord. Lead me in a straight path because of my oppressors. Do not turn me over to the desire of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, shouting malicious accusations. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. And then he gives himself a little pep talk here. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart. Wait for the Lord. Wait. In the meantime, wait. In the meantime, when you're not there yet, wait. Sometimes wait is just, another four-letter word for us. It's a swear word for us sometimes. Wait isn't something that our culture likes that often, but I really believe when we look at the Bible, God wants us to wait. There's a lot that He can do in the waiting times. Kendall and I were in Vancouver quite a few months ago now, and we went to one of our favorite coffee shops. It's always a good place. It makes us happy every time. But this time in particular, we tried the twice baked almond croissant. Hello? Anyone? That sound good to anyone else? We had the twice baked almond croissant and our coffees in hand. We left the coffee shop, going to get in our car. We were rushing off somewhere. But I said, everything is good, Life is good when I've got this croissant in my hand. I've got this coffee in my hand. This is going to be a good day in Vancouver. And so we drove out of the place, driving along, and we turned out and got right into traffic right away. Anyone ever been to Vancouver? Traffic. Come on. Kendall always jokes that the only traffic you see in Courtney is at the Starbucks drive-thru. Well, we get pulled out. We get stuck in that traffic right away. And so we're just sitting there, and I'm thinking, I don't mind waiting. I've got a croissant. I've got my coffee. I've got a smile. It's a perma smile, I think. I'm gonna be good this whole time. It doesn't matter. And so we sit there and we're waiting in this turning lane. And it seems like the lane that's going straight is quite open, but we're right plugged up and we can't move forward. And the car is bumper to bumper to bumper to bumper. And so the light turns green. And we're okay. Let's get going. And no one moves. And it goes red again and green again, then red again. And I'm thinking, it doesn't really matter, not really noticing it too much. I'm eating my croissant. I'm having my coffee. I'm telling Kendall that there is no more croissant and then hiding it over here and eating it myself. And we're waiting, and it's getting a little bit bothersome, but we're still okay. Well, eventually my croissant was gone. This is trouble, you know. Soon enough, my coffee was gone. And not only that, but I have crumbs all over me because I've been eating an entire croissant in the car. And I'm thinking, why have we not moved yet? We start getting tired of being in Vancouver. This is the worst. We were happy a few minutes ago, but waiting has changed our mind on that, right? We've stopped being happy with this experience. And so we're watching, and I'm trying to figure out what in the world is going on. Why is no one turning? It seems like lots of people are going straight, having no problem get through. And then we start seeing some people leave the line that we're in, pull out into the straight lane, and then it seems like they're turning in front of our row. Well, you can't do that. We have to wait. You have to wait. How are people getting out, getting around, and then turning right? And so we're just like so frustrated about this waiting. And then it all of a sudden hits. We realize, it was Kendall driving, by the way, not me. We realize that here we are in the turning lane. Well, we weren't actually in the turning lane. We were in the parking lane. Seriously. I don't know how we didn't notice, right? So, like, seriously, the cars that were pulling out and getting around us, they were just leaving their parking spot. They're just going out, and we're sitting right behind these. Come on! What's this Vancouver place? What are we doing here? And we can't even move forward. This is the worst. Oh, they're parked. Yep, it happened. It happened. So we went back and got another croissant. I'm just kidding, we didn't. We should have. We should have for sure. It was a funny time, but the reality is in our culture, we don't like waiting, do we? No one likes waiting. We don't really understand what waiting is in our culture. We usually think waiting is wasting. We're wasting time if we have to wait for anything. So we get so frustrated if we have to wait at a restaurant. Why do I have to wait? This is taking too long. I should have my food, as if getting your food 5 minutes later is going to change your life somehow. Waiting is not something that we understand. In fact, even when you go to a doctor's office or somewhere like that, they say, while you're waiting, here, do this. You know, I saw video games at a doctor's office a while ago. Like, we can't just sit here and do nothing, right? We can't just wait and do nothing. That's unproductive. I need to, I want things to happen quick. I want to get somewhere now. I want to get something now. I can't wait to get somewhere. I can't wait to get something. I want it now. In fact, the other day I was eating a mandarin orange. And I was remembering my childhood when mandarin oranges only came out at Christmas time. Right? Does anyone remember that? Or Christmas time, you'd eat a mandarin orange, and it was an exciting moment. Oh, it's Christmas. The taste of mandarin. Oh, the taste of these oranges, the Christmas oranges. It must be the season. Well, now I eat them in January, February, March, April, May, June. I eat them all the way along. Because who would want to wait for a season for fruit to come out? So we've made strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, everything you can get in the store all the time. GMOs help us with that. We've made it. We've decided that we can't wait. Why would we wait for a fruit to be in season when we could just make the season come and we could have it whenever we want? Nobody wants to wait on things like that. Why would we? My son, we have this little strawberry plant outside of our door. And every time we walk by this little strawberry plant, my kids want to pick a strawberry. And the strawberries haven't been ready most of the time when they want to pick them. So they'll come by, and Hardy will just be like reaching out. So he's just a moth to a light, you know. Oh. I said, Hardy, no. It's not ripe yet. You can't have that strawberry yet. It's not ripe yet. Get inside, you know. And then comes up again. I want that strawberry. No, I want it, Dad. No, you got to go inside. I want it, Dad. I want it. He's reaching out for it. He just wants that strawberry so bad. I'm like, no. Get inside. So eventually there was this one time where I look back and Hardy's holding a strawberry. It's a small strawberry. And he's got a coy little smile like this. I'm like, son, did you just pick a strawberry off the plant? Well, you're going to eat that whole strawberry whether you like it or not, son, because now it's going to be wasted. So you're going to eat the bitter fruits of your disobedience right now. And so he gets excited. He's like, Daddy's letting me eat it. Well, what else am I going to do? You're holding a strawberry. It's not going to get ripe. So it's white with just like a hint of red on it. And so he goes and he takes a big bite. By big, I mean big for the size of the strawberry, which is about this big. So he takes a bite of it, and his face goes like this. You know, he's like, what is this, Daddy? You're trying to hurt me. You know, and I said, so I told you it wasn't ready, but you're finishing that thing. You know, you eat the whole thing because you shouldn't have pulled that. Your daddy told you not to. It wasn't ready for you yet. You shouldn't have eaten it yet. Too bitter. You know, kids, we start to teach kids this stuff. Some things are just better when we give them time. Some things we just need to give a little bit of time before they're going to be good. Some things are better when we've waited for them. Some things are meant to be waited for. We're not meant to eat strawberries when they're ripe. Not that they aren't strawberries at that point. They're just not ready. With the plan of God, sometimes the same. It's not that the plan of God is not still the plan of God. It's just not ready for you yet. Sometimes the destiny that He's called you to and the ideas that He's put before you, they're there and you can walk towards them, but they're not ready for you to have yet. David would have battled this in a big way. Imagine David when he's, God, I'm supposed to be king. Why am I not there yet? Why am I not king yet? I've done everything right. Why am I not there yet? In the meantime, wait. In the meantime, wait. God will bring it into fruition, but there's a ripening that needs to happen. The plan needs to become all that it's supposed to be for you. You need to become all that you're supposed to be for that plan. God has purpose in the waiting periods. God has plans for the waiting times. God can do wondrous things in the waiting times. Waiting is not wasting with God. Waiting is allowing God to do something in you. Waiting is trusting with God. Galatians 6:9 is one of my favorite verses. It says, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. I love that verse because it says at the proper time. What's the proper time? I don't know. If we knew, He would have told us. Do not grow weary in doing good, for after 2 years you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. After you've gone fully bald, you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. You know, after you get married and have these kids and they leave the home, you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. There's not a stage of life that He says. There's not an age that He says. There's not a certain amount of time that you need to wait. It says at the proper time. What's the proper time for a strawberry? When it's red and ready to eat. What's the proper time for the plan of God? Whenever He says so. Whenever He brings it into fruition. See, when we want the promise of God, we need to be willing to walk through the process of God. The promise of God in our hands before we're supposed to have it is bitter. It's not ripe. It's not ready. It's not for us yet. We need to get ready for it. So in the waiting, I read an article recently and from Relevant magazine, and there were some words in there for in the waiting time. What happens in the waiting time? There are 5 things that they said. 1, we discover how much we want it. If you're not willing to wait for something, it can't be that important to you. If you're not willing to wait for God to bring into fruition the plan that He's placed in your heart, it's not that important to you. Say, it needs to happen now, or else I'm going to go and do something else. God, you said I'd get a promotion, and you said you were going to do it this way, but you're not doing it, so I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to start stirring things up at work, and I'm going to get me that promotion that you told me I'd get. And so if we can't wait on God, then we don't trust God that much. If we can't wait for His plan, then we don't want His plan that much. If we're always wanting our plan, then it's our plan that we want. It's not His. When we wait, we learn how much we want His plan, how much we care about His plan for our lives. 2, when we wait, we discover or we develop patience. You know, it used to be that people called patience a virtue. I feel like I heard that a lot when I was a kid. I hardly ever hear it anymore. I think it's probably because we don't actually see it that way anymore. patience a virtue? No, not really. We need to get some stuff done. We need to hurry up and move things along, and I don't want to wait in traffic because I have this to do and this to do and this to do and this to do. And by the way, when I'm talking to you, I'm going to be throwing out a few emails and a few texts because I got to get some stuff done. I can't waste my time just sitting and talking to you. I can't wait on this. This has to happen right now or else. It used to be patience was a virtue. But for us, we don't always see it that way. It's good for us to wait and develop patience. The third one, we grow in anticipation. When I didn't get a Christmas orange the whole year, then Christmas rolled around and I ate that orange. Oh, it's the best thing. Can't believe I'm eating this orange. I always make, on our Christmas morning, I always actually make, I guess this is croissant Sunday, but we always put eggs and bacon and onion and cheese on croissants. Nothing fancy, but it's awfully tasty. And so when I would do that always on Christmas, that was kind of my job. And when I met my family and my extended family and Kendall's family and things, they wanted it one time on Easter. I was like, that's sacrilegious, There's something wrong with that. You can't do it on Easter. Because if you have it on Easter, I walk down the path. I'm like, you're going to have it on Easter. All of a sudden, we're going to gather for our, one regular old Saturday, and you're going to want croissants. You're going to ruin it all. You're going to want it every day of your life. You're going to want me to make them in mass and freeze them and pop them in the microwave. We can't do that to the croissants. You'll never want them at Christmas time then, The same is true sometimes when God holds back the plan from us so that we can start to anticipate it a little bit more. God, I want to buy that house. I want to buy a house. Oh, I can't wait to buy a house. I'm just going to try to figure it out and try to figure out all the debt. I'll get a few more credit cards and put it all on the credit cards and do it all that way. Oh, that's going to be great. You get into the house and you start paying off debt and you realize you've overstretched yourself. It's no good. But I want a house, Lord. Will you give it to me? Can you do it, Lord? Will you just set that up? I'm going to leave it in your hands. Will you just set that up? All of a sudden, the house comes into your life. Wow. I had to wait for this. I had to put in my time. I had to pray for it. I had to believe for it. I had to anticipate this. And waiting has got me more excited. We don't get that concept all that much in our culture. Marriage, even vacations. Go to the bank, say, you could pay for your vacation. You could save up for your vacation, or you could just go. Get this new credit card and just go on your vacation. You deserve it. We're the I want it now culture. We haven't learned to wait on things and build anticipation. Number 4 is, in the waiting, we become who we need to be. There are a lot of things David learned in the caves and in the wilderness that he couldn't have learned from being a king. And yet he needed them to be the king. Who knows what God's making you into right now as you walk through the meantime. The 5th one is we learn to depend on God. When we wait on God, we grow in our trust of Him. We believe that what He says is true. We believe that what He's promised will happen. We start to trust that He can carry it out, and we don't have to carry it out ourselves. He can do it. I want to read the second diary entry that I've picked out today from David. It's in Psalm 40, verse 1 to 3. He says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on the rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. So the first chunk I read, he said, I will see the goodness of God. I will just wait. It will come. I will just wait. It will happen. I just have to wait. Now he's saying, I waited. I've gotten to see it now. But I love what he says here. I hadn't really noticed this before this week. He says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. Sometimes when I think of waiting patiently, I think that probably means I sit quietly and say, God, I'm fine, no matter what. I'm so happy and content. And if that future thing never comes to me, it's no problem. so I'll just wait. I'm good. But David seems to have a different idea. He says, I waited patiently for the Lord, and he turned to me and heard my cry. I think that means that David's sitting there in the meantime saying, God, what is going on? In fact, when I read through the Psalms, I see David spoke that way. He says, God, I don't know what's happening. My enemies seem to be coming against me. People seem to be turning on me. People are saying bad things about me. I don't seem to be moving forward in life. I don't seem to be getting more like a king. I don't seem to be having more opportunities. In fact, sometimes I feel like I'm going backwards. I don't know what's going on. I don't get it. I don't understand this, but I will wait patiently. Patience isn't just saying, I'm fine with this situation. Patience is saying, whether or not I'm fine with this situation, I'm not going to work in my own strength. I'm going to wait for God to do this. I'm going to wait for God to empower me. I'm going to wait for Him to fulfill His promises to me. Sometimes when people, when we decide that patience is about us just being happy about every situation, I think we start to get pretty weird. Don't you? You start to be the odd person. You know, you're at work and they say, hey, so how are you doing? I heard how things are going in your marriage. Fine. You know, it's totally good. Jesus lives. Yeah, so I'm good. It's awesome. Oh, right on. Okay. And people don't know what to do with you. You know, show up to church and, hey, sorry, I heard you lost your job. Yeah. God must have some great plan, and it's totally cool. Not making any money, you know. We lost the house too, just so you know. But hey, what's the problem? No worries. The cross. Jesus died, rose from the dead in my heart, so I'm good. Woo! Oh, no, that's just weird. People are going to look at you and say, what in the world is going on? That's not a testimony that speaks about Jesus. Okay, so He keeps you happy even in junky times. The gospel doesn't even teach that. The Bible doesn't even teach us that. David doesn't do that. David instead says, I don't get this, and it's hard, and it's difficult, and I'm really struggling right now, God, but I will wait for you to pull through for me. I will wait for you, God. I don't get why my marriage is going through what it's going through. I don't get why my finances are doing what they're doing. I don't get why that job isn't there for me anymore. I don't get why those people have hurt me. I don't get it. But I'll wait for you, God. I'll let you lead me. I'll let you guide me. I'll let you show me the next step. I'll let you teach me what that's supposed to look like. Because I trust that even if your plan takes 20 years to be fulfilled, it will be more fulfilling than if I get some of it right now in my own strength and eat the bitter strawberry rather than the fully ripe one, rather than the fully ready one. In the meantime, wait. Worship team, you can come and join me. We're going to end this service in just today. Or this week I've been thinking about how we could wrap this service up, and I think sometimes we need to figure this out. We need to figure out this waiting thing on God. Sometimes when we get to a place like this, we can hear that and say, okay, that's great, and so yeah, I'll wait on God, and that's a good thought, and that's biblical, and that's really nice. But in practice, we go home and we say, okay, I still need to get everything done. I need to move things forward in my life, and I need to crank through this. God instituted a Sabbath for the Israelites. He said, one day of the week, I want you to do no work. I don't want you to get everything done. And I know what they would have thought because I think it a lot myself. Well, what won't get done then? You know? What are all the things that we'll miss out on? What are all the things that we wish would have happened? Or there's too much to do, God. It's a trust issue where God's saying, slow down. Trust me. Let me remind you of who you are. Let me remind you of the plan that I gave you anyways. Let me remind you of what I can do in that plan. Let me remind you of where I'm leading you and how I can accomplish it in a greater way than you could ever accomplish it by trying to figure it out right now. God wants us to trust Him. Enough to wait on Him. Enough to ask Him what He thinks. Enough to follow Him rather than try to lead Him in our lives. Have you decided that having what you can provide for yourself is better than waiting for what only God could provide? Have you decided that you're just going to make things happen for yourself and just do it and instead of waiting for God because you've decided waiting for God just takes too long? I believe God's wanting to say today, I want relationship, not results. I want to sit with you. Sure, I could give you all the money in the world. Sure, I could give you all the fame in the world. Sure, I could heal that sickness. I don't want to be a genie in a bottle. Genies come and do your beckoning and then go back in the bottle and you don't think about them again. I don't want that with you. I want a relationship with you. David was known as a man after God's own heart. He's the only one in the Bible referred to that way. It wasn't because David was perfect. In fact, he messed up a lot. It wasn't because he was just a great worshiper and he wrote psalms in a really special way. That wasn't the reason that David was said to be a man after God's own heart. I think a lot of why David is a man after God's own heart is because he took a long time to figure out what God's heart was. He sat in the meantime for a long time. He waited in that meantime. He didn't try to force his way out of it. He didn't try to become king somehow. He waited until the kingship was given to him by the same one who said he would receive it. God. Some of us caught in this meantime have decided, I need to make something happen for myself. And God's saying, you could. Capable. You're amazing. I made you that way. You know how to move that company forward. You know how to fix your marriage. You know how to say the right words and avoid saying the wrong ones. Well, I'm not looking for you just to fix your marriage. I'm not looking for you just to have a lot of money, and I'm not looking for you just to have a lot of success. I'm looking for a relationship with you, and you can't get it with me unless you're willing to wait and let me walk with you. Wait in the meantime, before everything's accomplished. Wait in the times that feel like they're not all that great. Wait in the times where you feel like you haven't accomplished what you wish you could accomplish. Wait in those times. And let me meet with you. Today, maybe there's some people here who've never had a chance to have Jesus meet with them at all. Came to church, you didn't really know what this is all about. You didn't know what's going on at church, and you thought it might be a nice place to meet some friends, and it is. There's going to be people who care for you at a place like this. That's one of the goals of this church. But it's all wasted if you don't get to know this Jesus who says, I have a plan for you, and I have a process for you. I have results for you, but I also have a relationship for you. I want to walk with you. I want you to know me, and I want you to know that I know you. So today, if you say, I want to give my life to Jesus, I want to walk with Him. I want to know that guy who wants to walk with me and has dreams for me and has plans for me and cares about me whether I accomplish them or not. In fact, is willing to accomplish them for me and isn't concerned about the results of the past or results of the future and more about relationship. If you want to meet that Jesus today, we're going to wait right now on God. And you're waiting, maybe you need to say, God, I want to follow you. Jesus, I want to know you. I want to give up the things that I've been carrying. I want to give up the things that I've picked up I want to give up my own pursuits of trying to get the money and trying to get the girl or the guy, or trying to get the job, or trying to get the house, or trying to get even health, or trying to get set free of addiction. I'm going to give that up so that you can start to fight that battle for me, that I can take on your burden, which is light, and walk under your yoke, which is easy. If that's you today, you say, I want to know that Jesus that picks those up for me at the proper time and lets me put down the burdens that I shouldn't be carrying right now. I want you to pray to Him today and invite Him to walk with you, to lift off your burdens. But you've got to give them up to Him first. Say, I don't want to walk on my own anymore. I don't want to carry it on my own anymore. I want Jesus to carry it for me. I want to submit my life to Him, follow His ways. And then as this happens, we have Bill and Christina are going to make their way over to the cross in the corner, and you can go and pray with them and talk to them about that journey. But for the rest of you, it's worth it to wait. Waiting is not wasting. Waiting is just a wonderful time for God to do something special in your life. And so just take a couple minutes as we wrap up. The worship team's going to stay quiet like this. And you can sit here, take in a moment, speak to God, let Him remind you of who you are and the plan that He has for you, and that you don't need to fight for it, but that you can be upset. You can be confused. You can be questioning about where life is at. Bring those to God. He likes your questions. He likes your concerns. And He wants to lift those burdens up. He wants to take them from you. And then as you feel like you're done, you can leave, you can head out. We hope that you come back next week as we wrap up this series. And we hope that you join us at 4 for our picnic down at Riverbend. We'd love to have you. It's family time. We're going to have some laughs, some fun, some food. And we'd love for you to join us down there. But right now, wait on Him. He wants to lift you out of the mud and mire and set your feet on solid rocks, just like Psalm 40 says. Have a great week. Have a great time in the waiting. And we'll see you tonight, and we'll see you next week.